Everyone, Alon Mizrahi here with the only Mizrahi perspective on the internet. When Trump was elected and took office earlier this year, and it's been already 4 months and some change since he has been officially president of the US again. When he got elected and began his presidency and appointed Witkoff to have his man for negotiations basically around the world and with Hamas and Iran, I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt. Remember, the first ceasefire, the serious ceasefire that we had in this genocide, began the day before Trump took office. And I wanted to take it as a good sign that Trump is not happy with the carnage that's going on and on and on. There's no need to say too many words about it, really. And they sounded optimistic about Iran for a while, and they started the Yemen campaign, and then they stopped it, which gave me more reason to believe maybe Trump was the president of America first. And he was doing immense damage in the US domestically, which I don't particularly care about. He can destroy American universities. As far as I'm concerned, an academic institution that supports genocide doesn't need to exist. There's no justification for it to exist from the Mizrahi perspective, okay? And I wanted to believe that Witkoff was really trying to get to an agreement and a ceasefire to stop the genocide. But I grew more and more skeptical of this because this was going nowhere, and it seemed like every time Trump was trying to be the president of America first, somehow Israel intervened and made him again the president of Israel first. That was the impression. And slowly, gradually, the Israel first took center stage, and we don't hear America first anymore. And today I heard something which was eerily reminiscent of something we had during the Biden administration. This was the same tactic they used then, when they were supposedly trying to make a deal or get Israel to relent and stop and reconsider. Witkoff today said, there was all kinds of news everywhere in the Israeli media and American media about a possible deal. But as soon as they published it, they said, no, actually, there's not going to be a deal because Hamas doesn't agree. And Israel kinds of agree, but doesn't really agree. And Israeli sources said there are big disagreements, and we're not optimistic. And it hit me like immediately that this was the same playbook that the Biden administration used. This is exactly what they did back then. They were fooling us and fooling the Palestinians and fooling the Europeans and fooling the whole world, basically, dangling the possibility of a deal, okay, before us, but only as a means to cover for the genocide. This was never a genuine attempt to stop this. This was never a genuine attempt to rein in Israel. All this has been is giving Israel the diplomatic cover it needed to complete the genocide and the destruction and annihilation of the Palestinian people. And when Witkoff began using that same language, that same tactic again today, it became clear to me that this whole notion that the Trump administration may be different may act different, may have a different rationale, a different vision, a different playbook, was only an illusion. They fooled us. They fooled me. Okay? For a moment, I believed it. It looked like it was real when they pulled out of Yemen, when they said they were optimistic about a deal with Iran. When Witkoff looked like he was actually trying to reach a deal, I fell for it. I fell for it, I admit. I admit. My bad. I fell for it. I noticed that they are using the same tactic with Iran. And this also dawned on me this morning because as Trump was saying he was optimistic about Iran, Chrissy Noem was sent to the media studios, to the Fox News, I think it was, to say that Trump would not agree to an Iranian nuclear bomb, and he would not agree for the Iranians to have a path to a nuclear bomb, which is again the no enrichment line that they are doing. And I realized this was again the same playbook. They were pretending to be optimistic, pretending to negotiate in good faith, but it was all a ploy. It was all a stratagem. It was all a game they were playing on the Iranians, on the Palestinians, on the Europeans, on all of humanity, basically, because everyone is following this. And this tells me there's not going to be an Iran deal. And I'm a little bit angry with myself for falling for this, because last year, for many, many months, I was very adamant there was not going to be any deal because Trump cannot be the president that released Iran from the sanction regime. It doesn't make sense. It can't be. And Israel didn't invest so much in getting Trump to the White House to have a deal with Iran. It just doesn't make any political sense whatsoever. And still, what they did and how they did it gave way, gave rise, gave an opportunity, gave us to understand that maybe something was possible. But now I'm convinced it is not possible. All of this, the whole Witkoff thing, is a charade. And there's no real negotiation. There's no real negotiations with Hamas. There's no real negotiations with Iran. And there's no real negotiation with Russia either. Okay, this is the big game the American deep state or something else, we can call it, played on all of us, because Trump was running as a peacemaker, okay? He wanted to focus on the economy, on making America more capitalist, more richer, and have more resources, and all this yada yada. But he said, he was going to stop the Ukraine war. He was going to do something about Iran. He was going to do something about the Middle East. And look what he has done since he's become president. Okay? He's not a peacemaker president. He is a fire starter president. He is a fire starter president. The whole thing is a joke. It's a practical joke on all of us. Look what's happening in the Ukraine theater. This war is not reaching an end. It is escalating. Trump is escalating and has escalated the war in Ukraine and pulled Europe deeper into it and now out of it, because the Europeans need a slap in the face to wake up from this delirium of going to war with Russia and living this fantasy that Russia is about to invade them. And this is the Second World War all over, and Putin is the new evil guy that wants to devour the world and all this nonsense. By the way, I'm sure this deserves a video of its own and essays of its own, but I'm sure that at least partially the demonization of Russia throughout the decades in Western culture, in Western politics, was partially put in place in order to conceal Israel's crimes and Zionism's crimes. So they built up Russia as this big demon to scare all of humanity and and they are crazy, murderous, cunning, vicious, okay, relentless. They will do whatever. And part of the reason they did this, part of it is the competitions Americans didn't want to have with the Soviet Union or anyone else. Americans only pretend to love competition, but they always destroy the competition in real life. This also is fake. There's so much disillusionment to do. Anyway, if we see what Trump is doing, and Trump is not relieving or alleviating tensions with China either. Okay, it is always a double play with him. He says he's optimistic and then he does something belligerent and aggressive. And then he says something aggressive and relents in practice. It's always a double game. And this is the classic colonial game of duplicity and double takes and double tongues. Okay, I've spoken about this and written about this so much. This is just done this time Trump style. This is not done the liberal style, okay? The liberals talked nice, talked politely, and caused all these wars and invasions and the drone assassination campaign led by Obama, okay? And so many regime change operations in Libya, and one war after another, and regime change after another, and invasion after another, and all this craziness, while remaining in the nice, loose suits and pretending to be nice and people you want to hang out with. Trump does the same thing. It's the same essence. He just does it in a different style. So I can't say this is like my final verdict on the Trump administration, because things, I don't know how, I don't see an opening now for the US changing course on anything. I mean, anyone who has good intentions about anything, they don't create an atmosphere of chaos and fear and instability. I mean, this is a sign, a very solid sign, that someone doesn't mean well. When they create chaos, when you want to, in every situation in life, when you want to move to a better place, it can be at work, it can be at home, it can be on the road. You don't generate chaos and instability and fear. You do the opposite. You calm everyone down. You speak calmly. But Trump does the opposite. So, judging based on the record of the last 4 months Trump has been president, and this double game that he always plays, and this game that he plays with Iran, saying he is optimistic, and 2 days after saying no enrichment. And then he meets them again and he says, I think there's going to be a deal, and sending people to say, no, they are not going to be able to have a path to a nuclear bomb. This doesn't communicate good intentions. This communicates the same old colonial game of duplicity and deceit. And I think it is now an urgent Palestinian need to wake up from the American spell, this American delirium that all of us have entered, giving the US a monopoly on negotiations, on agreements, on shaping the future. The US shouldn't have this monopoly. It has proven itself to be an untrustworthy partner, negotiator. The Palestinians have to insist that more countries, more powers are represented in the negotiations. It can be the UN, it can be China, Russia, Europe, more international players, because the monopoly the US has over these negotiations is only used as a cover for Israel's genocide. Because when Israel is perceived to be negotiating, it lets it off the hook. It is being seen as supposedly trying to reach some kind of settlement and agreement. But they never sought any settlement or agreement. This was about total annihilation of the Gaza Strip, of the Palestinian people. They said it from the first day. And they have been consistent about it. So the Palestinians have to invest heavily in changing this arrangement and not having the Americans as the monopoly power over these negotiations. And I would say the same thing about Iran, but Iran is not negotiating with the international community like it did a decade ago. It was a collection of powers that Iran was negotiating with, and Russia had a status in it, in the original nuclear agreement that Trump walked out of eventually. So it's now Iran and the US playing on their own without other involvement, but Iran is not the Palestinians. Iran is a strong and capable nation. It can defend itself. It has a deterrence factor. It is smart. It is strategic. And the Palestinians are with their back against the wall. And they have to involve other political parties urgently today. They have to do it. The Americans are working, colluding with Israel to destroy them. And this negotiation facade is part of it. I want to talk about this image behind me and what we already know for certain at this point in a genocide, because this is Israel. And more than Israel, this is the Jewish collective, the bigger Jewish community. Okay, this picture represents them perfectly. And not only them, an entire Western establishment class is represented in this image, in this cover image. They have been standing with Israel all along. They have been standing with Israel all along. And one opinion poll after another tells us that the vast majority of Israelis are happy with the genocide, have no qualms about it. They support the IDF fully. They support this government overwhelmingly. Okay? They are not unhappy about this. And this is not just the Israelis. In the US, where millions of Jews live, you have seen no outcry from the bigger Jewish community. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of Jewish organizations and communities throughout the West. Every city you go, there's tens of communities in every city, tens of organizations, and they are all political. They are involved in a range of political causes, okay? Transgenders, the environment, they are all liberals, so they pretend to not like Trump and to be pro-immigration, and they are very political communities. But we haven't heard anything from them about this genocide. We haven't heard anything from them about this genocide. This represents the vast majority of Jewish opinion. And how do I know that? How do I know that? It's very easy to see and know. We have seen no organized Jewish opposition to what Israel is doing. Zero, none, nada. We have seen nothing. We have seen, and not only do they not oppose, do they not voice any opposition to what Israel is doing. They are working with Western governments to silence and censor opposition to what Israel is doing. They are enforcing genocide compliance, like what they do on this platform. Okay? We are fighting algorithms and establishments and the whole high-tech industry. The whole high-tech industry is working to promote Israel's standing and what it's doing, which is genocide. They are cooperating with them. They are carrying out their policies. All of them have failed us miserably. They have failed humanity, and they made their position very, very clear. They have made their position extremely clear. Social media companies and other high-tech companies, the whole industry, the entertainment industry, the media world, all of them, they have made their position very, very clear, as has the Jewish collective. I don't want to say the Jewish people because I can't blame children for the poor choices of their parents. But nevertheless, this was an overwhelming choice. And I agree with Jewish right-wingers and Zionist voices when they say Israel represents the Jews, and what it does represents the Jews. They are right. I'm not going to argue with them. Israel does represent the Jews. How do you know that? Because Jews do not oppose what Israel is doing. And no opposition means agreement, means endorsement. Where someone is killing a child next to you and you say nothing because you're on your way to a panel, because you're going to do your nails or your hair or to try a new suit or to meet a friend, the child is still going to end up dead anyway. So I don't care about excuses, and it is very clear to me that once this is over, we are going to hear so many excuses, so many stories, why people didn't speak, why they didn't make a sound. We're going to hear so many stories like this. I know it. But we have seen it in real time, and we are telling them in advance. We have seen what you were doing, and this is support. This is not quiet dissent. Quiet dissent doesn't exist. This is support. These pictures, this is Jerusalem Day in Israel. This is how they celebrate the quote-unquote liberation of Al-Quds. 60 years almost after they quote-unquote liberated Jerusalem, this is how they celebrate. They walk all the streets of the old city of Jerusalem, which is mostly Palestinian, Christians and Muslims and other communities, non-Jewish communities. This is the vast majority of all Jerusalem population, and this is how they celebrate. They intimidate, they damage, they assault, okay? They scream and shout the most despicable slogans. Have you heard any opposition to it by any major Jewish organization, by any organized community? I haven't. And the whole international community sees these images and sees the videos just as they see the images from Gaza. This is an I accuse video or segment. They see whatever we see, everything that we see, everything that we know, they know. And they don't stop their support. And the US is not going to stop its support. The US is going to stop supporting Israel only after it breaks, only after a revolution, or if it actually breaks and stops being a single political unit, which is, I think, quite plausible. But it's not going to stop supporting Israel. Europe is showing signs that it is starting to withdraw from its full, complete, unconditional support for Israel. Europe is showing signs of sanity. The US is showing sign of going deeper into insanity. Deeper into insanity in this double game that Trump is playing. And what it entails for the future is nothing good. Nothing positive is going to come out of it. No agreement with Hamas, no agreement with Iran, only the continuation of this deceit. And one day yes, the next day no, one day optimistic, the next day war talks. This is what we're having. And the realization, the understanding that if you speak for humanity, if you speak for sanity, we are not talking for revenge. We are not talking for revenge. I cannot imagine a situation which is the opposite of what's going on today. I cannot imagine October 7 going on for more than a year and a half, with tens of thousands of Israeli Jewish children being massacred, and anyone still saying with a straight face that they support the Palestinian cause and they support Palestinian independence and Palestine has the right to defend itself. I can't imagine it. I believe that 90% of people who are now in this cultural resistance, and Palestinians and Arabs and Muslims, would have been just as appalled if the opposite has happened. But this is not true about Zionists. Zionists are perfectly happy with the genocide. They are perfectly happy with images like this. All of them, because no one broke with Israel publicly over what it's doing. No one. No fucking one. Not one person. Not one figure in the Israeli military, in Israeli culture, in Jewish. There are trillion Jewish celebrities, intellectuals. The number of people who actually broke with Israel in Zionism, you can count them on one hand. And it's the names we all know. No one has joined them during this genocide. No one. So what Zionism is, and what it represents, and what Israel is, and what it stands for, and the choice of the Jewish collective, the bigger Jewish community, is very, very clear. And no one is going to be able to deny that this is what they chose, and this is what they wanted. And I agree, as I said, with Zionist speakers and Jewish right-wingers that say that Israel represents the Jewish people. They are right. It does represent the Jewish people, and it is not my job, as someone who resists this, to defend the reputation of Israel or to defend the reputation of people who chose to support this. Let them explain it. It is not my job. Let people who supported the genocide and people who remained silent to explain why they did it. This is not my job, and this is not our job. As the very, very small number of Jews who openly and decidedly oppose this. Now, before I sign off, I want to remind you that my channel is demonetized on YouTube, which means I can't earn anything on YouTube, no matter how many views and subscribers I get. This is another way they fight us, because if you're demonetized, eventually you're not going to create content. They want everything to be about products, about nonsense and distractions. This is not what I do. And if you want to support my channel, you can use the Buy Me a Coffee links at the description of this video. This is a great help, and it helps me to keep on doing this, keep on creating content. So thank you to everyone who already supported. Thank you for watching, and see you in my next video.